Welcome to the Bar Exam Toolbox podcast. Today we're talking about how to study for the bar exam when you have been out of law school for a long time. Your Bar Exam Toolbox hosts are Alison Monahan and Lee Burgess. That's me. We're here to demystify your bar exam experience so you can study effectively, stay sane, and hopefully pass and move on with your life. We're the co-creators of the Law School Toolbox, the Bar Exam Toolbox, and the career-related website Career Dicta. Alison also runs the Girls Guide to Law School. If you enjoy the show, please leave a review on your favorite listening app and check out our sister podcast, the Law School Toolbox podcast. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can reach us via the contact form on barexamtoolbox.com, and we love to hear from you. And with that, let's get started. Welcome back. Today we're talking about how to start studying for the bar exam when you have been out of law school for a long time. This can be a paralyzingly daunting task, especially if you are working full-time or even part-time while studying. But it can be done. And today we're going to give you the tools you need to get out of paralysis and start studying. For a lot of our working attorney exam takers, the first phase is denial. Seriously? You did this once or even twice already. You passed and you swore you would never look at another MBE question again. But here you are, 5 or even 10 years out of law school, realizing that you have to pass another bar exam. How are you supposed to motivate yourself to start studying? And when you do, where do you even begin? When it comes to motivation, you have to be realistic. Staying in denial for more than a few days wastes valuable study time. So if this is something you can't avoid, accept that fact and move on. You also may find it helpful to talk to another attorney who has taken the bar after several years of practice. Having a resource to commiserate with may help you get the ball rolling. Another thing to remember is that you are older and wiser than when you first graduated law school. You may have practical legal experience that will help you on certain parts of the exam. For example, if you are a litigator who practices in federal court, many of the federal rules of civil procedure may be second nature now. You won't have to spend hours memorizing those rules like you did when you took the exam right after law school. And even if you don't think you have legal experience that will help you on the exam, you undoubtedly have life experience. Many attorney exam takers say they find studying and passing the bar later in life easier than it was the first time around. Or they at least say that they approached it with a better perspective. The bar exam is important, and devoting adequate time to studying and passing it is also important. But this experience does not define who you are as a person or determine your entire life. As an older and wiser exam taker, you likely have a better grasp on the practical implications this test will have and not have on your life. Remember to approach this like an adult and keep things in perspective. With all of that, hopefully you are motivated enough to start studying. So let's talk about how practically to do that. Regardless of how much legal experience you have, you still need to invest in a good test prep resource. If you have been out of law school for many years, there are likely a lot more options now than when you first took the bar. And some resources have abridged, discounted versions that are geared toward attorney exam takers. Consider the resource that you used after law school, and if that resource worked well for you the first time. If it worked the first time, you might consider using that same resource again. Conversely, if the resource you used after law school was not particularly helpful, then spend an hour or two researching other options. Then pick the one that you think will work better with your learning style and also with your study schedule. This is another area where a friend who has taken the bar as a practicing attorney may have helpful recommendations. Reach out to any other lawyers you know who have done this and ask them about their experience. After you pick your resource, set a realistic study schedule. I'll stress the word realistic. Trust us, we do this for a living. As an attorney exam taker, you likely don't have the luxury of spending 8 to 10 hours a day for 2 months on bar prep like you may have done right after law school. It is important to be realistic about the amount of time you plan to spend studying. A couple things to consider. Do you have enough time to prepare before the next bar exam, or should you wait until the one after that? Will your employer let you take some time off right before the exam to prepare? At the very least, it is important to be forthcoming with your employer up front and understand the expectations. This will help you set and stick to a realistic study schedule. Once you have your resource and realistic study schedule, you are ready to get to it, the actual studying. If you are a practicing attorney, you passed the bar somewhere at some point. Remember what study methods worked well for you. Did you find that actively taking notes during lectures kept you more engaged? Did you use flashcards to memorize rules? Did you read explanations for practice questions to reinforce the rules? If you know certain study methods helped you the first time, use those again. There is nothing silly about a practicing attorney making index flashcards to quiz yourself on elements of rules and using a mnemonic to remember when to apply the statute of frauds. For example, the mnemonic is my legs: marriage, years, land, executor, goods, and surety. Also think about where you can and cannot cut corners. And don't be afraid to modify your bar prep resources recommendations to fit your unique situation and study style. So here's an example. If you're using a test prep resource geared towards law student exam takers, the resource will likely recommend hours and hours practicing the MPT. If you are a practicing attorney, you may not need to devote that much time to that aspect of the test. Set aside 3 hours to do one practice MPT, and then be honest with yourself about how it went. Is this a spot where you can cut some corners? As a refresher, the MPT is 1.5 hours, and in order to take a practice test and review it, you need about 3 hours typically. You may even want to rewrite it. I know, what fun. You may also decide that you do not have time to take a full commercial course, and that it isn't the best use of your time. But lucky for you, there are many options out there now, including our programs that can help design a customized study schedule and help you make the most of the time that you have. On the flip side, understand where you can't cut corners. For example, you are likely out of practice with answering timed multiple choice questions, so you may have to devote extra time to MBE practice. Also, there are probably lots of rules that are tested on the bar exam that you have not seen or thought about since the first time you took the test. You have to memorize them again and use the study methods that helped you do that the first time. Finally, find a way to track your progress and keep yourself accountable. If you are used to practicing law, you may be accustomed to billing hours or seeing a lot of day-to-day finished work product. For example, if you spend 3 days writing a brief, you get a sense of accomplishment when it's filed. Studying for the bar is a marathon, and compared to practicing law, you may feel like you aren't accomplishing anything. Tracking your progress will help keep your spirits up when you miss that day-to-day endorphin boost. It can also help you stay on schedule. If you need an accountability partner, tap your resources. Having someone in your life monitor whether you are on schedule and congratulate you when you are can also be a helpful motivator. A quick note to bar studiers who sat for the test, failed, and then haven't gone back to it. We often get phone calls from studiers that are coming back to the test after 5 or even a 10-year break. There are unique challenges to this. First, you have to try and figure out what went wrong in the past and remedy it as any retaker would. But if you have not been practicing law, a lot of this law may seem very far away or hard to remember. You may not have time to study using a commercial course with hours and hours of lectures. And really, did that even work the last time? Instead, find something that will support you and work with your schedule, and also give you valuable feedback. And consider using outlines to help you focus on heavily tested law, like Smart Bar Prep. Now, hopefully these tips will make the task of studying for the bar after being out of law school for many years a little less daunting. If you are considering taking the bar after several years of practice, or have any questions about how to practically do that, don't be afraid to reach out to the Bar Exam Toolbox through our website. We have helped many practicing lawyers and those coming back to this exam after a break study and pass the exam. And with that, we're out of time. If you enjoyed this episode of the Bar Exam Toolbox podcast, please take a second to leave a review and rating on your favorite listening app. We'd really appreciate it, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. If you are still in law school, you might also like to check out our popular Law School Toolbox podcast as well. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Alison at lee@barexamtoolbox.com or allison@barexamtoolbox.com, or you can always contact us via the website contact form at barexamtoolbox.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk soon.